The dusty road of Makeni village was alive with the sound of Zola's frantic breathing as she chased after the departing bus, her hand outstretched. "Kojo, stop! Wait!" she screamed, her voice cracking under the weight of the humid air. The bus screeched to a halt, kicking up a cloud of red earth. Kojo leapt from the back, his face a mixture of terror and hope. Before he could speak, Zola crashed into him, her arms locking around his neck. She pulled him into a desperate, searing kiss that tasted of salt and sweat, a kiss that felt like a goodbye and a promise all at once. Her hands, calloused from years of peeling oranges and carrying heavy crates, gripped the back of his shirt as if she could anchor him there forever. "You are going," she whispered against his lips, her eyes glistening. "But you are taking my heart with you." She reached into her apron and pulled out a heavy leather pouch. It clinked with the sound of 3 years of missed meals, sleepless nights, and bone-deep exhaustion. "Take it, all of it. Don't look back until you've built the life you deserve." Kojo looked at the money, then back at the girl who had given him everything. He kissed her again, more fiercely this time, pinning her against the side of the bus. "I will come for you, Zola. I swear on my mother's grave, I will come back and make you a queen." Before we dive deeper into this journey of ultimate betrayal, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a chapter of this intense story. If you're ready to see how far love can go before it breaks, give this video a thumbs up right now. Kojo boarded the bus, and as the engine roared to life, Zola stood in the middle of the road until the tail lights faded into the horizon. For the next 3 years, her life became a rhythmic cycle of labor and longing. Every Monday, she walked 10 miles to the post office to send a remittance to a city address. Her letters were filled with "I love you" and "I am waiting," while his replies grew shorter. "I'm busy, Zola," he would write. "The city is hard. The chief is demanding." But Zola didn't care about the brevity. She cared that he was alive. She didn't know that in the city, the man she loved was shedding his skin like a snake. Kojo was no longer the dusty boy from Makeni. He was the chief's right-hand man, dressed in silk shirts that cost more than Zola's house. He had learned to speak with a refined lilt, erasing the village accent that once defined him. And then he met Sloane. Sloane was everything the village was not. She was gold and perfume, she was power and poise. One evening, in the high-ceilinged library of the chief's mansion, Sloane cornered Kojo. "You are different from the others," she purred, her fingers tracing the sharp line of his jaw. "I have a hunger in your eyes that I find intoxicating." Kojo felt the world of Makeni slipping away. When Sloane leaned in and kissed him, it wasn't the raw, honest kiss of Zola. It was a kiss of conquest. Kojo didn't pull away. Instead, he deepened it, burying the memory of the orange cellar under the weight of his own ambition. He told himself he was doing this for survival, but as he felt Sloane's expensive jewelry press against his chest, he knew he was doing it for the throne. Back in Makeni, the air turned cold for Zola. Elias, a local trader who traveled to the city twice a month, walked up to Zola's stall one Tuesday afternoon. He didn't buy any oranges. Instead, he pulled out a crumpled newspaper. "Zola, I saw someone who looked like Kojo, but he was wearing a crown of flowers. He was standing next to a woman who looked like a goddess." Zola's heart did a slow, painful roll in her chest. She looked at the grainy photo. There was Kojo, smiling a smile she didn't recognize, his arm wrapped around Sloane's waist. The caption read, "The Union of the Decade." "It's a mistake," she whispered, her voice trembling. "He's undercover. He's walking. He loves me." But Elias shook his head, his eyes full of pity. "He's getting married on Saturday, Zola, at the great cathedral." "He's forgotten us." Zola didn't cry. The pain was too sharp for tears. She packed a small bag, including the faded photograph of their first kiss and the dried flower Kojo had given her before he left. She used the last of her savings, money she had kept for her own wedding, and bought a one-way ticket to the city. The city was a monster of noise and smoke. Zola felt small, her village clothes marking her as a target for stares and whispers. She reached the cathedral just as the bells began to chime. The crowd was a sea of fascinators and tailored suits. Zola pushed through the throng, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. "Let me through. I need to see him," she cried. She reached the front just as the heavy oak doors swung open. Kojo and Sloane emerged, showered in white rose petals. Kojo looked like a king. "Kojo!" Zola's scream pierced through the celebratory music. The crowd went silent. Kojo froze, his hand tightening on Sloane's arm. He turned slowly, and for a split second, Zola saw the boy from the village in his eyes. He saw her dusty shoes, her tired face, the girl who had paid for the very suit he was wearing. "Who is this woman?" Sloane asked, her voice dripping with disdain. Zola stepped forward, holding out the old photograph. "Kojo, it's me, it's Zola. I've come to take you home, or to stay with you. You said you would make me a queen, remember? You said—" Kojo's face hardened into a mask of ice. The fear of losing everything he had lied for overcame any shred of humanity left in him. He looked at the security guards and pointed a trembling finger at the girl he had once promised his life to. "I have never seen this woman in my life," he said, his voice loud and clear for everyone to hear. "She's a mad woman, a beggar seeking a handout. Get her away from my wife and out of this sacred place." The guards grabbed Zola's arms. "No, Kojo, look at me. Look at the money I sent. Every week." Kojo shrieked as they dragged her across the gravel. Kojo didn't look back. He turned to Sloane, whispered a lie about crazy village fanatics, and kissed her deeply in front of the cameras to seal the deception. Zola was thrown into the gutter outside the gates, her photograph torn and trampled in the dirt. She lay there, the taste of blood in her mouth, watching the limousine speed away. Make sure you stay tuned, because this is only the beginning of Zola's transformation. What would you do if the person you sacrificed everything for denied your very existence? Let us know in the comments. As Zola lay in the dirt, a shadow fell over her. A woman with a face carved by years of wisdom and sorrow reached down. This was Gogo Ruth. "Get up, child," she said, her voice like a steady drum. "Crying won't feed you, and it certainly won't break him. You want him to remember you, then you must become the ghost that haunts his halls." Gogo Ruth took Zola to a small shack on the edge of the slums. She fed her, cleaned her wounds, and listened to the story of the orange seller and the traitor. "He thinks he is safe in that mansion," Gogo Ruth whispered. "But the foundation is built on your sweat. It's time you went to collect the interest on your loan." Under Gogo Ruth's guidance, Zola traded her village wrap for a maid's uniform. She learned to keep her head down, to mute her spirit, to become invisible. Through a network of household staff, Gogo Ruth managed to get Zola a temporary laundress at the very estate Kojo now shared with Sloane. The morning Zola walked through those gates again, she wasn't the screaming girl in the dust. She was a weapon, hidden in plain sight. She spent her first 3 days in the laundry room, scrubbing Sloane's silk gowns until her fingers bled, waiting for her moment. It happened on the 4th night. Kojo was walking to the kitchen for a late-night glass of water. The hallway was dim, lit only by the moon. He turned the corner and stopped dead. Zola was standing there, holding a stack of white towels. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She just stared at him, with eyes that held 3 years of Ogba's son and 1,000 nights of loneliness. Kojo's glass shattered on the marble floor. "You!" he hissed, his voice trembling with a mixture of rage and terror. "How did you get in here? I'll have you arrested. I'll have you killed." Zola stepped closer, the moonlight hitting her face. "With what money, Kojo? The money I gave you? Or the money you've stolen from your wife's father?" Kojo lunged at her, pinning her against the wall. His hands were around her throat, but his grip was shaking. "Leave, now! I'll give you a check, 10 times what you gave me. Just disappear." Zola looked at his hands, then up at his face. She didn't flinch. "I don't want your money, Kojo. I want the 3 years of my life you stole. I want the skin back on my hands. I want the heart you ripped out in front of that church." The tension between them was electric, a toxic mix of history and hatred. Suddenly, the anger in Kojo's eyes shifted. He looked at her lips, remembering the girl by the bus. In a moment of sheer madness, he leaned in and kissed her, a violent, desperate attempt to reclaim the power he had over her. Zola let him for a second, then bit down on his lip until he roared in pain and pushed her away. "You are a monster," she whispered, wiping his blood from her mouth, "and I am the one who created you. Now I'm going to unmake you." Kojo stood in the shadows of the hallway, nursing his bleeding lip, the taste of his own failure metallic and sharp. He watched Zola disappear into the servants' quarters, her footsteps silent, but her presence heavy enough to suffocate him. The next few weeks were a psychological war. Everywhere Kojo turned, Zola was there. She was the one serving the appetizers at his business dinners, her eyes downcast, but her spirit radiating a heat that made him sweat under his designer suits. She was the one folding his shirts, leaving them smelling faintly of the orange blossoms from their village, a scent that acted like a noose around his neck. Sloane began to notice his agitation. "Kojo, you are distant," one afternoon as they lounged by the infinity pool. "You jump every time a door closes. Is the pressure of the merger getting to you?" Kojo forced a smile, leaning over to kiss Sloane's forehead, his eyes darting to the glass doors where he saw Zola's reflection watching them. "It's nothing, my love, just tired." But it was everything. He began to have nightmares of Zola standing over his bed with a knife made of frozen orange peels. He tried to ignore her, then he tried to sabotage her. He would intentionally spill red wine on the white carpet and demand she scrub it on her knees while he watched, hoping to break her pride. But Zola only scrubbed harder, her silence more deafening than any scream. One rainy evening, the house was quiet as Sloane attended a charity gala. Kojo found Zola in the laundry room, the steam rising around her like a ghostly veil. He locked the door behind him. "What do you want, Zola? Really?" he pleaded, his voice cracking. He reached out, his hand trembling as he touched her shoulder. "I loved you once, you know that. But this world, it doesn't have room for people like us if we don't change." He pulled her toward him, his movements erratic. He tried to find the girl by the bus, pressing his face into her neck. "Come away with me. I'll set you up in a flat across town. You don't have to walk. Just stop looking at me like a ghost." Zola shoved him back with a strength born of years of manual labor. "You think I want to be your mistress? You think I want to be the secret shame you hide in a dark room?" She laughed, a dry, hollow sound. "I am not the girl from Mekeni anymore, Kojo. That girl died in the gutter outside the cathedral. I am the debt you forgot to pay, and I have come to collect every cent." Kojo's fear cuddled into a cold, desperate rage. If he couldn't buy her or break her, he would have to destroy her. He waited until the next morning, when the house was full of staff and Sloane was having tea in the garden. Kojo hurried into the master bedroom and grabbed Sloane's diamond-encrusted heirloom necklace from the vanity. He rushed to the servants' quarters and tucked it deep inside Zola's thin mattress. Then he ran back to the garden, feigning a panic attack. "Sloane, the safe! Someone has been in our room!" The household erupted into chaos. Security was called and every maid was lined up in the courtyard. Kojo stood behind Sloane, his face a mask of full concern, his heart hammering against his ribs. When the head of security emerged from the quarters, holding the necklace, Sloane gasped, her hand flying to her throat. "Where did you find it?" she demanded. The guard pointed directly at Zola. "In her bedding, madam." Sloane turned on Zola, her face contorting with a fury that was beautiful and terrifying. "You? I gave you a job, I gave you a roof, and you steal from the hand that feeds you?" Zola looked at Kojo. He didn't look away this time. He stared at her with a smack of victory, a silent message saying, "I won." "I didn't take it," Zola said firmly, her voice echoing off the stone walls. "Liar!" Kojo stepped forward, his voice booming with authority. "I've seen her lurking near the bedroom for days. She's been obsessed with me, Sloane. She told me she would take everything I have because she was jealous of our life. She's a thief and a stalker." Sloane didn't wait for a trial. She lunged forward and struck Zola across the face, the force of the blow sending the girl to the ground. "Get her out of my sight, throw her into the street, and don't give her a single penny of her wages. Let her rot in the filth she came from." The guards dragged Zola toward the gate, the same way they had at the wedding. But this time, Zola didn't scream. She didn't beg. As they threw her out onto the wet pavement, she looked up at the balcony where Kojo and Sloane stood. She wiped the blood from her lip and began to laugh. It was a terrifying sound that chilled Kojo to the bone. He had won the battle, but as he looked at Zola's defiant face, he realized he had just unleashed a storm he couldn't control. Zola walked back to Gogoruth's shack, her body aching, but her mind sharper than a razor. Gogoruth was waiting with a hot bowl of soup and a knowing look. "He used the necklace, didn't he?" the old woman asked. Zola nodded. "He thinks he's erased me. He thinks I'm gone." Gogoruth reached under her cot and pulled out a small old recording device, an item Elias had brought from the city months ago. "He forgot one thing, Zola. In a house full of servants, there are no secrets. The kitchen girl heard him talking to himself while he planted that necklace. And I have something else." She handed Zola a stack of documents. The chief, Sloane's father, he didn't die of natural causes, and Kojo was the last one to see him alive. Zola's eyes widened as she looked at the papers. The game had changed. It was no longer about a broken heart. It was about a hidden mother. "Kojo wants me to be a thief?" Zola whispered, a dark smile spreading across her face. "Then I'll steal the only thing he has left, his life." For the next few days, Zola and Gogoruth moved in the shadows. They contacted Elias, who had his own grievances against the city elite. Together, they began to piece together Kojo's web of lies. They found the real records of the money Zola had sent, remittances that Kojo had claimed were donations from his wealthy family to impress the chief. They found the witnesses who remembered Kojo as a lowly driver, not the aristocratic orphan he claimed to be. If you are enjoying this journey of resilience and want to see Zola get the justice she deserves, don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who loves a good comeback story. Back at the mansion, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Sloane was becoming suspicious. Kojo's behavior was becoming erratic. He was drinking heavily and shouting at the walls. He had started seeing Zola everywhere, in the steam of his shower, in the shadows of the garden. One night, he woke up screaming, convinced he felt her calloused hands around his throat. "She's here, Sloane! I know she's here!" he yelled, pacing the room. Sloane watched him, her love turning into a cold, hard curiosity. "Kojo, you are acting like a man with a guilty conscience. What are you not telling me?" The climax was building like a pressure cooker. Zola knew she had to strike while the iron was hot. She didn't go back to the mansion as a maid. She waited for the night of the city's grand masquerade ball, an event where everyone wore masks and identities were fluid. With Gogoruth's help and a dress borrowed from a sympathetic costume designer, Zola transformed. She wasn't the orange seller or the laundress. She was a vision in midnight blue, her face hidden behind a silver mask. She slipped into the ball unnoticed. The music was loud, the champagne flowing. She saw Kojo and Sloane at the center of the room, the golden couple of the city. Zola waited until the music slowed. She approached Kojo and tapped him on the shoulder. "May I have this dance, sir?" she asked, her voice a silk-wrapped blade. Kojo froze in the middle of the dance floor. His grip on her tightened until it hurt. "Who are you?" he hissed. Zola pulled back just enough for him to see her eyes through the mask. "I'm the 3 years you owe me, and I've come to collect the interest." Before he could react, she slipped away into the crowd, leaving him standing alone and trembling in the spotlight. Sloane approached him, her eyes narrowing. "Who was that woman, Kojo? You look like you've seen a ghost." I need some air," Kojo stammered, stumbling toward the balcony. But as he stepped out into the night air, he found the balcony wasn't empty. Elias was there, and he wasn't alone. He was holding a folder of Kojo's true history. "The game is up, Kojo," Elias said, his voice calm. "The village remembers, and the city is about to find out." Kojo lunged for the folder, but Elias was faster. They struggled at the edge of the stone railing, high above the city streets. "You can't do this. I worked for this. I deserved this," Kojo screamed. Suddenly, the balcony doors swung open. Sloane stood there, holding the recording device Gogoruth had provided. The sound of Kojo's own voice filled the air, the recording of him admitting to planting the necklace and mocking Sloane's father. Sloane's face was a mask of cold steel. "You didn't just lie about where you came from, Kojo. You lied about who you are at your core." She looked at the security guards behind her. "Take him.
I want him stripped of everything, every suit, every watch, every cent. Throw him back into the gutter where he belongs." As the guards dragged a sobbing, pleading Kojo away, Zola stepped out from behind a velvet curtain. She removed her mask. She and Sloane stood face to face, two women who had been deceived by the same man. Sloane looked at the girl she had once slapped. "I was wrong about the necklace," Sloane said softly. "But you are wrong to think you could keep him. Men like that don't belong to anyone but their own greed." Zola looked at the glittering lights of the city. "I didn't want him, Sloane. I just wanted my life back." She turned and walked away, her head held high. She found Gogoruth and Elias waiting for her at the gate. As they walked toward the sunrise, Zola felt a weight lift off her shoulders that she had carried for years. She wasn't going back to Mekeni as a failure. She was going back as a woman who had faced a demon and won. But as the story ends, a new question arises. Kojo is in prison, stripped of his wealth, but he still has friends in low places, and Sloane is now the head of an empire with a vacuum of power. Will Zola find peace in the village, or has the city changed her too much to ever go back? Is this truly the end, or just the beginning of a new struggle for power? Thank you so much for watching until the very end. This has been a journey of heartbreak and triumph. What did you think of Zola's revenge? Did she go too far, or was it not enough? Let us know in the comments below. And please, tell us where you are watching from. We love seeing our global community. Don't forget to subscribe for part 2, where we see what happens when Kojo plots his escape and a new face from Zola's past arrives in the city. Until next time, stay strong and keep your heart guarded.